Good morning, students. Welcome to the CS 110 Computing. Your moderator, Mrs. Natasha Nyanja. Today we're going to be looking at information systems, which is unit 12. This is the last unit that we're going to look at in our CS 110 course. So you agree with me that in previous units, the focus was on learning parts of the computer, networking of computers, and the internet. But in this unit, we'll focus on the use of the computer and telecommunication technology to generate information for businesses and organizations. So we'll head into the introduction and define what an information system is. So an information system is an organized combination of people, hardware, software, communication network, and data resources that perform collection of data, they process it, transform it, provide information in an organization. So as mentioned, just a combination of people, hardware, software, and communication network that perform collection of data, process it, transform it, provide information in an organization. So the information required from the organization system, from the information systems at different levels of the hierarchy. It's different in nature, like operational information, management information, or information that supports the decision-making process. Even the people that deal with that information are at different levels. So at operational level, you might have people like the data entry people. Management level, you're going to have people like managers, or people in decision-making positions. And for the decision-making process, also, you're going to have people that actually make decisions in an organization, like the CEOs and people like that. So information systems are vital for the functioning of businesses and organizations. And as we go through this class, you agree or you will note that almost, if not all, organizations have information systems or work with information systems. So this unit will enlighten you on how those systems come in handy and what they are used for in the various organizations in which they are employed. So before we proceed to discuss different types of information systems, we're going to define a few things. We're going to define data, we're going to define information, and we're going to define knowledge. So data are raw facts. Data is isolated values, which by themselves do not have much significance. They can be numbers, they can be letters, or characters, or even just an image represented as graphic images and pictures. It can also be an audio file, or it can be a video file. Information is defined as data that is processed, manipulated, and interpreted. So remember, we said data are raw facts, but we're saying information is data that has been processed, manipulated, and interpreted, meaning it has been given some form of meaning. So information is a collection of data organized in such a way that they have value beyond the data itself. They can be used for something. Knowledge is defined as an inference or conclusion drawn from the information. So let's give an example. Imagine a reporter comes, we have a riot at the university, and the reporter comes to comes on the ground to find out what happened. So we assume that the questions that they'll be asking or the responses that they'll be getting from the students are students' opinions. So students' opinions on their own can be thought of as real facts. But without considering what each student said, without having a conclusion out of that, we cannot consider that as information. But once the reporter sits down to then go through or to critically analyze what each opinion means and comes up with a summary and says, maybe if they interviewed 10 students, out of the 10 students, 8 students said the riot was because they didn't get their meal allowance and things like that, whereas 2 students said the riot was because students just wanted to riot. You see, before we just had opinions. No one had categorized them into 8 responding as this or 2 responding as that. But once we move a step further and give it some meaning, to say, draw some conclusion out of it and say, 8 said this, 2 said this. Then we say that becomes information. So now from this definition of knowledge, we're saying knowledge is an inference or conclusion drawn from the information. So we'll take knowledge as being, someone looks at that reporter's conclusion and says, from this information that you've given us, that 8 students said the riot was caused because students didn't receive their meal allowance, whereas 2 said students just wanted to riot. We can conclude that the riot was caused because of this. The fact that we're now concluding or drawing a conclusion from the information, it makes it knowledge. I hope that is clear. So information has some characteristics. The first characteristic is accuracy, or the information has to be accurate. This means that information must not contain any errors. It must be accurate, it must be correct. The second characteristic is that it must be accessible. Authorized users should be able to access the information whenever required. I think that's self-explanatory. The third one is that the information must be complete. What do we mean? We mean that the information must contain all important and related data. The fourth one is that it must be economical. Information should be economical to produce, both in terms of time and cost. So, for example, if you want to buy data, second-year data as you go into second year, it shouldn't cost you so much. So how much you spend on the data should be worth the knowledge you're going to gain from the data. So this is what we mean when we say it should be economical. The next characteristic is the format. Information should be available in the desired format. So assuming a system is required to produce a report in Excel format, it means that report should always come in an Excel format and not in any other format. So we're saying information should have that characteristic, where it should be available in the desired format. So as we work with information systems, you will see that they are designed to give out reports or give out information in different formats according to what an organization requires. The other characteristic is that information must be flexible. What do we mean? We mean that it should be flexible enough to be used for different purposes. We continue with the characteristics of information. We're saying information must be reliable. It should be dependable and generated using correct data. It means no false information should be given. What does it mean when you're a reliable person? It means people can count on you. It means when you listen, when you use some information, it shouldn't be a false. It should be reliable, it should be true, it should be correct. Information, the next characteristic is it should be relevant. It must be relevant so that it can be used by the organization. The next characteristic is that it should be secure. Unauthorized users should not be able to access the information, meaning the access should only be given to authorized individuals. So just like you as students have access to the information, the student information system, a student and a lecturer do not have the same rights. You as a student cannot access the lecturer module. It means you're only authorized to access the student module. So we're saying information must be secure. So only what you are supposed to see as a student must be given to you. Another characteristic is that information must be simple. What do we mean? Information must be easily understandable and usable. You agree with me that complex information is difficult to use and may not serve its purpose. So if every time you want to do something, you're given a complex set of information, you will choose not to use it. You will try and find other routes which give you simpler information or information that's easily to be presented. So this is what we mean when we say information must be simple. Another characteristic is that information must be timely. Information must be available when it is needed. Late or outdated information is of no use. Assume you have been given an assignment that is due on a particular day at 10 hours. If you choose to submit it a day after, it means it becomes irrelevant or of no use. Therefore, information must be given at the time that it is needed. The next characteristic is that information must be verifiable. What do we mean? There should always be a means to cross-check the available information. Trace it back to the source. So we'll now move on to talk about what an information system comprises of and things that make it up. So we'll first define what a system is. A system is a set of components that work together to achieve a common goal. A system accepts input, processes it, and produces an output. A system can be composed of one or more subsystems. A system can be a closed system or an open system. Now, here, a closed system is a standalone system that does not interact with other systems, whereas an open system interacts with other systems. In this case, we can then define an information system as a set of interrelated components that collect data, manipulate data, disseminate data and information, and provide feedback to meet an objective. So I hope this definition that has been broken down makes sense for you. An information system is just a set of interrelated components that collect data, manipulate data, disseminate data and information, and provide feedback to meet an objective. We'll look at the various components of an information system. So an information system consists of four main components. There's input, there's process, there's output, and there's feedback. Now, input is the activity of gathering and capturing raw data. Remember the example I gave about the journalist? When the journalist comes on grounds and is asking individual students what caused a certain thing to happen, in this case, a riot, we're saying the reporter is gathering and capturing raw data. It means they're getting input. Now, a process converts or transforms the data into useful output. So during processing, the input data is manipulated into information using mathematical, statistical, and other tools. So we're not sure what tool the reporter is using in this case, but they then draw a conclusion to process the information and say, oh, 8 students said this, 2 students said this. That is considered the processing stage. Then we have output. Output is a generation and presentation of useful information, usually in the form of documents and reports. Feedback is an output that is used to make changes to the input or the processing activities. So imagine you have a banking system. Let me give another example. Imagine you have a banking system. Input would be you logging into your banking application and requesting for funds to move from your account to another account. Processing is where funds actually move from your account to that other account. The output is whoever you're sending money to receives the money. The feedback would be what time they received. So assuming your input or your instruction to send money was sent at 8 hours in the morning, and the person only received the money at 18. It means when the person receives the money and says, I only saw this money at 18, you as a person that initiated the process will be disappointed with your bank because you had talked to them earlier and you were assured that the process would be complete within a few minutes. Now you find that it takes the whole day to send money from one account to another. So feedback is where you now say, you call your bank and say, I did this transfer and it took the whole day. What could have been the issue? So feedback is you giving your concern. Why did my transaction take so long? This is what we're saying. It is an output that is used to make changes to the input. So once your feedback is given, the bank will go to their banking application and check what could have caused a delay in your transaction. It means they want to improve on the input such that next time when you initiate a transaction in the morning, it will be processed promptly or without any delays. Characteristics of an information system. So some of the characteristics of an information system include the environment. So the environment is anything outside the system. Then the boundary separates the system from the environment. So any part within the boundary is a system, and outside the boundary is the environment. Then we have input. Input is the data from the environment to the system. The system uses the input. Output is the information from the system to the environment. The system uses input to generate output. Components are the subparts of the system. Remember, I said an information system is a set of interrelated components. So the components are the ones we're saying are the subparts of the system. Then we have interrelationships. These are associations between the components of a system. Then we have an interface. An interface is a mechanism for interaction between different components of the system. Now, the performance of an information system is measured by its efficiency and effectiveness. Efficiency is a measure of what is produced divided by what is consumed, whereas effectiveness is the extent to which the system attains its goals. How quickly, another way to look at efficiency is how quickly can you do something using the system compared to doing it manually. So it's a measure of what is produced divided by what is consumed. Effectiveness is the extent to which a system attains its goals. In this case, if the system has been set to complete a certain task within minutes, does it achieve that goal? Does it attain that goal? Does it do that? If it does not, or if it goes over the minutes into hours or not, then it's not effective. But if it attains its goals within the set time, then we can say it's an effective system. So the role of information systems is expanding and evolving continuously. In the 1950s to 60s, the focus was on data processing. Management reporting and decision support was provided during the 60s to the 70s and 70s to 80s respectively. 80s to 90s saw it being used for strategic and end user support. Now lately, in the 90s to 2000s, there's been a shift towards global internet working. So you understand this, more of this as we proceed through this class. An information system can be manual or computerized. So here we shall discuss the computerized information system or the computer-based information system. Why? Because we're in the computer age. So a computer-based information system uses computers and telecommunication technology for the generation of information. It uses hardware, software, databases, telecommunications, people, and procedures for the collection, manipulation, storage, and processing of data into information. As mentioned, they take raw data as input, process it, and produce information as output. So this is just a diagram depicting the different parties that come into play into a computer-based information system, which is, as mentioned, the hardware, the software, databases, people, procedures, and telecommunication technology. Why do we need efficient information systems? So information systems for many businesses provide an opportunity to do business in a new way and thus gain huge profits and market shares. Information systems facilitate the acquisition, transformation, and distribution of information. They can improve decision-making, they can enhance an organizational performance, and they can help increase profitability. So the use of information systems to add value to the organization can also give an organization a competitive advantage. In the past, before you could do anything, I'll give an example of banking again. Before you could deposit money into your bank, you had to go to the bank physically. But now it's very easy to deposit money anywhere and everywhere. It's very easy for you to move funds from one account to another. You don't have to go to the bank. In the past, you had to physically go to the bank and say, I want to move this amount of money to another bank. Or you had to actually get the money and then go and deposit it there. But now it's very easy. You just log into your phone, log into your banking app, and do the transfer online. So depending on how quickly that is done, a bank can gain more customers compared to another bank. So customers are able to compare. This is what we're saying. Companies are able to gain a competitive advantage. If, for example, Stanbic systems, online systems are faster than Zanaco, it means Stanbic has a competitive advantage over Zanaco. Why? Because their systems are more efficient. Damaged or lost data can cause disruptions in normal business activities, leading to financial losses, lawsuits, etc. So an information system can help an organization to better manage and secure its critical data. Information systems are in categories. We have information systems that are available at the high level for high-level operations, middle-level operations, and low-level operations. This applies to all departments of an organization, be it sales, marketing, accounting, or human resource. This is what is depicted in this diagram. So as mentioned, an organization structure can be shown as a pyramid, which is divided both horizontally and vertically, which is what we've just seen there. Vertically, the divisions represent different functional areas of the organization, like sales, marketing, accounting, human resource, and manufacturing. Horizontally, the divisions are made according to the operational level of the organization, hierarchically from the base of the pyramid to the top. So horizontally, this is the operational level. We have high-level operations, middle-level operations, and low-level operations. So we'll look at the various information systems at the different levels, from the top level, the middle level, and things like that. The operations support system. The operations support system processes data generated by business operations and is required for the low-level operations. The categories of operations support system are the transaction processing system and the office automation system. We also have management support systems. The management support system provides information and support needed for decision-making by managers at middle level and top level of the organization. So major categories of management support systems are the management information system, decision support system, and executive information system. In addition to the above information systems, there is specialized information systems like expert systems, enterprise resource planning, and electronic commerce systems. So as we proceed through the class, we'll discuss these different information systems in detail and see how each comes into play in an organization. So we go back to the operations support system. The operations support systems provides information about the day-to-day activities of the organization. They support the operations of the organization by keeping track of the resources and the transactions. So for example, in the banking operations, the operation support system are used to keep track of current balance of the customer. In a manufacturing unit, it helps to keep track of the inventory of items, and in the sales unit, it helps to keep track of the number of units of each item sold. Thus, transaction processing is a main function of the operations support system. We move on to talk about the transaction processing system in detail. So a transaction is a basic level of activity that is performed during business operations. It is a business-related exchange of payments to employees, sales to customers, and payments to shippers, to suppliers. So for example, in ShopRite, a transaction can be considered a customer buying an item, any item, whether it's a lollipop or it's multiple items. Examples of transactions are withdrawal of money from the bank, booking a ticket for an airline, selling of books to the customer, or selling of goods. Transaction processing systems are used for routine, repetitive, and ordinary business transactions, and transactions that are critical to the daily functioning of the business. We'll move on to talk about the office automation system. Now, the office automation system supports automation of the tasks in an office. It supports general office work for handling and managing documents. It facilitates communication both within the office and between the office and its environment. It provides support for the traditional office operations like managing the documents, sending messages for interaction, arranging and conducting meetings, or scheduling of projects. An office automation system includes the communication systems required for transmitting the messages, documents, images, video, or voice. For this, it uses the network and the internet. So an office automation system incorporates the email facility, voicemail, teleconferencing capabilities, and accessing websites, to mention a few. We'll look at the management support system in detail. So the purpose of the management support system is to assist the managers at different levels in an organization in the controlling and management of the business. Management support systems provide different kinds of reports, such as summary reports, sales reports, and customer balance reports. They also assist managers in decision-making process by generating projected reports like projected sales report, etc. Management support systems also provide information to the organization related to executives related to the overall operations of the organization, the overall growth, profits, and its performance. For any of the reports, it also provides detailed reports specifying its internal details if required. So because managers have no time to look at detailed reports, they are given summarized reports. But we're saying if there is need for a detailed report, the management support system is able to provide that also. So a management information system is a collection of people, procedures, software, databases, and devices that provides information to managers and decision makers. Management information system provides information to managers to make informed decisions. They also support managers in decision making and enhance their productivity and performance. So for example, a management information system may generate information related to the sales of a product in a month and the inventory status during that month. It can also monitor the performance and maintain coordination between the different functional areas, like purchase and accounts payable in an organization. We now look at decision support systems in depth. Now, a decision support system is a collection of people, procedures, software, databases, and devices that support problem-specific decision making. The decision support system supports the middle-level managers in the decision-making process. They supplement the decision-making power of the manager with the information technology. They also facilitate decision-making by applying mathematical or logical models and interactions to solve problems. So for example, a large number of mathematical and logical calculations are required to be performed on data, which may be more than 1 million in number. So in order to generate information that helps the decision-making process. So instead of having managers who have no time to go through 1 million things, 1 million transactions, a decision support system would be used to apply mathematical and logical calculations such that a decision is gotten without having to go through that big set of data. We'll move on to talk about the executive information system. This provides a generalized computing and communication environment to senior managers to support strategic decisions. It provides summarized information in a convenient form to the top-level managers. It is used by senior managers to identify a problem, an opportunity, or a trend which affects the organization's future growth. So remember, we said the middle-level managers use decision support systems to suggest solutions to the problem or analyze the opportunity, whereas the top managers or the top-level managers use executive information systems. Remember, we said we have specialized information systems. So we'll move on now to talk about those in detail. The first one that we'll look at is expert systems. Artificial intelligence system is a people, procedures, hardware, software, data, and knowledge needed to develop computers that display the characteristics of intelligence. So for certain types of well-defined problems, artificial intelligence systems can replicate the human decision-making.